E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories, broadcasting and live streaming to millions of devices around the world, including Roku, and live streaming to Facebook Live. Also on Amazon Fire TV and to Twitch. Also Android TV and Periscope. Broadcasting to Apple TV and YouTube Live. Proudly brought to you by our host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Michaela Vidal, host and administrator, and Jim Grant, producer and host. Proudly brought to you by the 6minutewebinar.com.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Jim, we are halfway through our week on the Roaring 20s.
We certainly are. And I tell you right now, folks, we're gonna have a fun show today. And today is March the 9th. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for liking our show, making our show so popular on E360 TV. And we were so popular, I asked Donna for a raise. And you know what Donna said? She said, "No sabe English." Oh my goodness, we're business partners. We have a lot of fun. But Donna, you know what the day is on March Day as far as National Day? This is the National Day, the Barbie Day, National Barbie Day. My sister loved Barbie dolls. She's got a collection of dolls. Oh my goodness.
What little girl didn't?
I know it.
What little girl didn't?
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I had a Barbie doll and I had a Dawn doll. That was her daughter. And
okay.
And then I got a Jeep with a little pop-up tent to go camping. And I had a Barbie house that was, in fact, I still have it, that you unclip it at the top and pull it out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember the Jeep, and I remember Ken and the Barbie house, but I mean, I never did play with dolls or anything, but my sisters, I mean, I remember that, but that's about it. So I was more into Jeeps,
right?
You know, toy Jeeps and tanks and stuff like that. I mean, but today is for National Barbie Day, and I know that it's a very popular doll. I guess those dolls are collector's items now, aren't they?
A lot of them are.
Oh, yeah. And you guys, you know, you ladies, you got some Barbie dolls in there. You might want to check online because they could be worth a lot of money. You know, it's just amazing. And also today, Donna, is National Crab Meat Day. So that means grab your fork. Is that right? Or grab your fork? Which is, it's one of the two. If it ain't one, it's the other.
Right? Grab your fork and cram it with some crab.
There you go. There you go. I love crab meat. I
crab
do.
is amazing.
It really
Good
is.
stuff.
Oh yeah. When I was with the Arizona Guard, we went up to the San Francisco area. This is back when the Presidio was still a military post. And we went out there and we went crabbing and we caught some crabs and we barbecued those things up. And I'm telling you, honey, we were eating high on the hog, even though crab didn't come from the hog. But I mean, that was some delicious food. My goodness gracious. Yeah. Oh man,
Especially
it's wonderful
fresh.
food. Oh yeah. So good for you too. So good for you. And you know what? This is a great day for you folks to really embrace. It's the National Get Over It Day.
Get over whatever's bothering you and go forward in your life and let it go. Give yourself grace. Give whoever is in your life that's maybe kind of put a wrinkle in your, in your shirt.
Yeah.
Give them grace.
Style.
Yeah.
As Donna likes to say, it's either a person, a place, or a thing, or a
That's a fact.
combination of all three. You let it go. Love them and
Yep.
let them go. And because loving yourself and forgiving yourself, that is, I think forgiving yourself, I think that's one of the toughest things to do because it's about certain things. We just can't really, I don't know if we feel like we're worthy or not, because I've had a couple of things in my life that bothered me. And it took me a long time to forgive myself and let it go.
Absolutely.
You
Same
know,
here. I think
yeah.
we're our own worst enemy,
Oh,
right?
let's
And
keep,
so,
I don't want to get depressed, Donna. Let's keep the show on.
but I do. I think as a rule of thumb, it is easier, Jim, for us to forgive other people
Oh,
than to forgive ourselves.
really is.
And you know what? If we can't forgive ourselves for things that have happened in life, and it does happen, life just happens. We make really bad choices. We make good choices at the time that maybe turned out bad. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But forgiving yourself and getting over it is what leads to a balanced, healthy life.
Oh, it does. It does. Because when you're caught up in the guilt complex, what you're doing, you're so filled with negative energy, there's not any room for any good, positive energy to come
Right.
in because you're
And you,
stuck in. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, I was just going to say, it stagnates you because you're at that
Oh,
crossroad,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're stuck in the physical, and everything in the physical is limited. And I mean, it's limited on all fronts. So if you're stuck into, the guilt complex, it's limited and it limits you on all fronts from the alpha to the omega.
Mhm.
And it does not allow the love and abundance that wants to come into your life. So it can not only bless you, but you can be a blessing to others. And that's when living really begins. That's when you really enjoy
Right.
living. And
It
like
is.
Don, I've said many times on the radio show and TV show that people ask me when I'm going to retire because I'm 73, and I said, well, probably the day before I die because I enjoy what I'm doing.
Right.
I mean, really, to be honest.
Well, when you can, when you look at life that way, Jim, you're in balance
Hmm.
and you're in
Yeah,
harmony and you've not put yourself in a box. You've not put yourself in a decision-making mode, right?
hmm,
You've given yourself all the options, and that's a beautiful thing.
yeah, it really is. But also too, it's not about me. It's about what I enjoy doing to, like this show here, to share blessings with others and to provide what we call infotainment.
Mhm.
And also too, we're gonna be hungry for this show's over. I'm already starting to drooling. Today is also the National Meatball Day. Mm. Meatballs are a gift from heaven, it says, and every culture seems to have their own version. And
Right.
amen to that, because I tell you right now, my mother makes meatballs a certain way, and my wife Evelyn makes meatballs a certain way. And you know which one is my favorite? Both of them. One in
All of
each hand. Yep.
them.
Yeah.
Right. Just let me
Whatever's in
have
front
them.
of me.
Just
Yeah.
let me have them.
Oh, yeah. Because they're just, I don't know what it is about meatballs, but they're just so good. They really are.
They are.
Mm. And
Yummy.
also, today is a good day because it's the National Non-Smoking Day, or No Smoking Day, I should say. And I was a smoker for many years, and I quit back in the 70s, and glad I did, But I can appreciate the nicotine habit and how tough it is. And if you got to, uh, go to counseling or get in a group or whatever it takes, because you're talking about your health and you're there. That's a good example of what life is, because you're there to receive blessing and you're there to be an encouragement and blessing to others. That's a great, great way of looking at life, isn't it?
It is. It is. And if I can share a tip, I used to
Mhm.
smoke cigarettes, and when I quit smoking cigarettes, this is funny. I found out I was allergic to cigarette smoke,
Mm.
not cigar
Yeah.
smoke, but cigarette
Mhm.
smoke. But
Mhm.
what I did was I cut up straws So they were about this big. And every time I wanted to smoke a cigarette, I just pick up the straw and inhale it, because part of smoking cigarettes or smoking in general is the hand to mouth action,
Mm. Yeah.
right? So, I just used a straw and pull air in
Oh.
from a straw, and, it kind of did really a good thing.
Hadn't
And then
thought about that.
yeah.
Mhm.
And pretty soon I was like, yeah, I don't need the straw anymore.
Yeah. And I know a lot of guys that when they quit smoking, they should be going down the road and they find themselves reaching into their shirt pocket for that
Pocket.
pack of
Yeah.
cigarette. Yeah. That's a habit. It's a
Right.
habit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. And, it's really a good thing to be able to quit smoking. And you reach out to family and friends that suffer from nicotine addiction and be supportive of them, because it's not an easy habit to break,
No.
because I found it to be a pacifier and I enjoyed it with a cup of coffee. That was like a
Right.
treat, you know?
Right.
I'm just glad that it's not a no coffee day, because if it was, I'd flunk that day.
Yeah. No coffee and no tea. When I'm cold, I drink tea, hot tea.
Mhm. Yep.
And I'm freezing today, so I got out the bigger mug.
Mm. That's the industrial size mug for a heavy
Right.
duty day.
This
But
is a heavy
my,
tea day.
oh yeah. And Donna, this week on inventions, we have covered several of them so far. I'm just going to give a quick recap, if I may, and we can talk about them as we go through there. The inventions of the 20th century. Now, we set the standard on Monday. We went into quite a bit of detail about how the Roaring Twenties came about. What was the catalyst? Number one was the World War One had been going on for several years. And then as it starts winding down, up pops the Spanish flu.
Right.
Donna covered that quite a bit. And then people were just like they are today. This is why we're doing the Roaring Twenties, not as a history lesson, but as an encouragement lesson, because people are just, they feel the same way today they did 100 years ago. They're tired.
Absolutely.
They're tired of the doom and gloom, aren't they, Donna?
They are. They are. Everybody is tired of living in fear. And
Oh
every time
yeah.
we turn, on the news,
Mhm.
there's something tragic that's happened.
Oh yeah.
And it wears you
It's
down.
horrible. Yeah, it
It
does.
wears you down. It wears
Yeah.
your soul down. It wears your heart down.
And I have finally broken my dependency on keeping toilet paper close by. And I do it as a habit, just keep it on my desk, in case I, need to blow my nose or whatever. But I use that as a joke. But think about how pitiful it was that we were all concerned about not having enough toilet paper, or not having this or not having that.
It
And I
was
mean,
crazy.
oh, it was nuts. Who is the bird brain that come up with that? And
It was
I
as
don't.
bad as oh gosh darn it, what was it? When 2000 hit.
Oh, Y2K?
Y2K, thank you. It was as bad as then. I mean, everybody was stocking up on everything. The
Oh,
gas
God.
stations, we were living in Kansas at the time. And I
Yes.
remember I needed gas, not
Mhm,
because of Y2K. I needed gas. And
mhm,
we had to wait in line like 40 minutes just to get some gas.
mhm. Oh, yeah, because there was a lot of fear spread during that time, because everything electronic,
Oh, yeah.
airplanes would be flying along, and then the computer would shut them down or something, because Y2K was supposed to be the horrible thing, and people got to buy new computers. It was just, fear just ran rampant. I mean, the
Oh, it was
stories that
crazy.
flowed, oh, yeah, it almost took stupid to a new level. It really did. I mean,
That's a good way to put it, Jim.
yeah. I mean, I knew some guys that stocked up on this food, and they had a supply like for 2 or 3 years. And I know good and well that food that they bought, boy, it's going to be like trying to. I like peanut butter, but you can't eat peanut butter 3 times a day. You get tired of it.
For a
And
year.
yeah, I mean, one guy, he was actually related to my chiropractor, and my chiropractor was laughing at him, said, he spent X number of thousands of dollars for all this food, and they're going to have to eat that over the next 2 years or something before they can buy more food.
Right.
Because he just hit Panickville. And,
Right.
that's something that's really terrible, because when people instill fear into others, that is horribly wrong. It's a horrible thing, and they're going to pay for it one day or sooner or later. Maybe
Well,
not in this life, but life to come. Go ahead.
right. Well, fear is like anything else. It is its own disease.
Oh, yes.
It's
It
its own
enslaves
disease.
people.
Mhm. It's its
It
own
enslaves
disease.
people.
And I've like COVID. There was so much fear around it with the toilet paper and all paper goods, and then food. You couldn't get pasta. You couldn't get rice. You couldn't get anything. And
Mhm.
and my husband and I had COVID back in January of what's it 20, when right before it first came out.
Mm.
And we had it bad. We probably should have been in the hospital. We had it so bad. And then again, this past January, we got COVID
Mhm.
again. And the
Mhm.
thing is, other than, when you have severe respiratory problems, it's much like the flu, right? It's a
Mhm.
H1N1, right? It's a
Mhm.
H1N1. So it's
Mhm.
much like the flu. It knocked me on my rear end because I had the fever and all of that. But I didn't, I guess my point is, even though we'd had it so bad before, we weren't enslaved to the fear.
Mhm.
We weren't enslaved to it. We wanted to live our life as normal as possible.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's amazing too, because that's what we all have to do, because we live in fear, we enslave ourselves. And it just amazes me how fear can grip people. And I knew people there. I mean, I see people, I don't see them anymore, but I see people ride down the road in a car by themselves wearing a mask. And I'm
Mhm.
going like, am I missing something here? You know?
Right.
And it's just amazing, because the fear of the unknown is the worst fear there is.
Right.
It really is. And we were talking about inventions. We talked about it on Monday, because when cars first came out, they were just a body and the seats and all that. Didn't have
Right.
windshields and no windows or anything. So if it rained, you got wet.
Right.
And the convertible top was invented. That was on in 1922 by Ben Ellerbeck. That was one of the things that we covered on Monday. And we covered about the modern traffic lights that we always love. That was actually invented by a police officer by the name of William Potts. Someone
Right.
else patented it, but they used his original design because
Right.
he understood the problem. And the moral of that story, Donna, is the fact that you may be an expert in one area and say that we really need an improvement here. We really need something here.
Right.
And that might be your call in life. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And that's the whole reason behind why we're doing the show this
Mhm.
week on the Roaring 20s.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is the time, if you have an idea, and oftentimes, like with COVID, we were at home, we think about things, we see things from a different perspective out of our normal, busy to and fro life. This might be your time.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes.
This
It
might be
really
your
would
time.
be. And if you do start on that journey, if that's your calling, focus on one thing. How can you be a blessing to others? Don't worry about what if this goes wrong or that goes wrong. Things are going to go wrong. So
Right.
what? So what?
Get
And
over
look
it.
at, oh, yeah, a National Get Over It Day. But look at all the great people who invented things. I mean, probably
and
most well
and
known
they
is
didn't succeed the first time, Jim.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh. Probably, Edison inventing the light bulb. It took him 10,000 failures. He actually told Napoleon Hill, he says, I had to find something that worked because I ran out of things that wouldn't work. And Napoleon Hill says, I just often thought about, why don't people just keep on keeping on? But so
Right.
many people quit. And most people that are successful in inventing something, they were at the brink of disaster. They were at the brink of defeat, and they
Right.
took one more step, and then
Hmm.
boom, and the door opened for them.
Right.
What a sweet feeling that is, isn't it?
That is. And then in 1921, Benjamin Katz invented
Oh,
the
yeah.
headrest in
Oh, yeah.
cars. And
He
that, as
sure
we
did.
know, is huge. And today, of course, it wasn't invented like that before, when it first came out. But now you can take the whole headrest out and use the part that goes into the seat to break glass if you need to.
That's right. That's right. But when I read that, what was invented, I go like, wow, I thought that'd be like in the 50s or something, maybe the
Right.
60s. I mean, I didn't know.
I
And
didn't either.
yeah, because I'd never seen a car with headrests back when I was a kid growing up, 40s and 50s. I didn't see any cars with headrests. In fact, the headrests that were in cars were normally aftermarket products. But I think it was Volvo, if I remember correctly. They're the ones that embraced it and took off with that, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
And of
Interesting.
course, Donna's world famous sport water skiing was invented in 1922.
Well, I wouldn't say world famous. For me, it was very cold.
Well, very humbling too, But tell them about where this is where she learned how to water ski. You got to share that story again.
I did. We're from Montana, and we'd go back every summer to see our family and friends. And our friends had a boat, and so we went in, and I was going to learn how to water ski. I was about maybe 10, and it was in a glacier-fed lake, and it was in like July, so it was warm outside, but not in that water, not at 28, 29, 30 degrees. Wow, was that cold?
No kidding.
So every time you drop and you wait for the boat to come around and pick you up again, you're in the water literally going, oh, hurry up,
Yeah. And the only two things I'd recommend to someone that's going to learn try water skiing for the first time. Number one, when you go down and you're going to go down, let go of the rope.
Definitely let go of that rope.
And number two, do not get a friend that's got a speedboat, because he'll think it's fun to, with you back there. Just trust me on that. I don't want you to visualize that, because I don't fall graceful, climb out. And that's a good way to get hurt too. But,
Yeah.
it really is, because, man, you hit water at 35 miles an hour. It's like hitting cement.
Yeah.
It hurts. Oh, goodness. It'll rattle the fillings in your teeth, if you know what I mean.
Actually, when I lived in Washington, my brother-in-law at the time was taking my ex-husband and I out on the boat, and those big, huge inner tubes, and they've got a middle in them, and they've got grips on the side, right? And I knew those two were up to no good. I knew it, and I said, "Don't you bump me off, David," because he was pulling David and I. I said, "Don't you dare bump me off." "Oh no, I'm not going to do that." And I looked at him and I saw that glint in his eye, and I thought, wrong move, buddy, wrong move. Well, we've got big hips, right? And I just waited, and I knew he was coming in. I waited, and I flipped that sucker up when the wave came, and he went tea kettle right in the water, and he hit so hard it knocked one of his front teeth back a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, he told me after that he wasn't going to do that anymore.
Wonder why. Yeah, I guess you might say Donna explained it to him. And the moral of that story is, this is the National Do Not Mess with Donna Day.
Nah, just get over it.
Yeah. Amen to that, girl. Also, too, earlier in the week, we covered how one of the inventions, this was really neat, was the bulldozer. In 1923. Yeah, but James Cunning and Earl McLeod. Goodness gracious. That was quite an invention right there. It really was, because just think of all the
boys.
Yeah, they were. They sure were. And Donna, you covered quite a bit of information about that bulldozer and how it came about. They used a tractor and a blade, and it just grew from there. Of course, I know they've been upgraded and all that, but the basic design is still the same. You got the tractor behind the blade,
Right, and it only took them 2 years to get a patent on it.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
So 1925, they got a patent on it.
That's amazing, isn't it?
right? Where would we be without the bulldozer, Jim?
Oh, I know it. I know. Some of the housing areas that we see, it looks so nice and everything
Smooth.
manicured and all. It'd be a lump. It looked like a bunch of anthills in there.
It would. It would.
Houses be sitting like this, and the
Right.
cars in the driveway would be like that.
Well, in 1924, I'm really thankful for this one because the cheeseburger was invented. Mm-hmm. And that was by Lionel Sternberger. And this was out of California. And he just did it because was working with his dad at a little cheeseburger stand, and a request of a customer said, hey, put a slice of cheese on that. And it went over and it was really good and they liked it. So he started doing it and put out extra condiments, for the hamburger and the cheeseburger.
It's really amazing because a cheeseburger for many, 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 many years, I'm talking about decades, that was one of my favorite meals. A lot of people think, you like the cheeseburger? Yep. And it was just one of my favorite dishes. It really was. And also in 1928, Dr. Alexander Fleming, and I'm so grateful for this, he invented penicillin. Because when I was 9 years old, 8 or 9, I got a real bad case of pneumonia. And I received a penicillin shot every other day for a couple of weeks after I started to help me build myself back up. And Mother, and I don't know because I was 8 or 9, but Mother says penicillin saved my life. So I'm very, very grateful. And you see how him being a doctor, he saw the death, the ruin and destruction of the Spanish flu. And he invented something that would combat that. And it's been a wonderful drug for many people. I know a lot of people are allergic to it because it was created from mold, I think, or something. But it's been a wonderful drug for many people, not only just for flus, but for other things too. And, Donna, I tell you, just really, you covered also about the liquid fueled rocket. That was quite an invention there, 1926 by Robert Goddard. Yeah. And got to 60 miles an hour. It only lasted 2.5 seconds, but hey.
It took off.
It took off over 40 feet high, so at least it would do it. And of course, I don't know when this came about, but Donna, you covered this very well. I do too. The year was 1920. That was the BandAid. You did a beautiful job on that.
Well, what an invention, because this was done out of just concern and love. And it was by Earl Dixon for his wife, because she was always cutting herself in the kitchen. And so he actually, he was a cotton buyer at the time. And when he went to work, he came home and he wrapped, let's see, I'm trying to find where it was, adhesive tape from his employer's products. And then he put the cotton in the middle of it. And then he made this big roll. So when his wife cut herself, she could just roll off a piece and then use it as a Band-Aid. And he went to his employer and told him what he was doing. And it doesn't say, though, there's nothing, at least in the article that we have, it doesn't say when it was patent.
Right.
When the patent went on it. But it was it was done out of love and concern for his wife. So I think that's absolutely beautiful. And I think pretty much everybody has used a Band-Aid at one time or the other.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Band-Aids, for kids, it's been a lifesaver for moms. It really has.
Right.
And it's just a wonderful invention. You know what was another wonderful invention? I mean, it just really touches every criminal's heart. And when it was invented in 1921, the guy's name is John Larson. And Donna knows what it is, but does
I do.
anyone out there in TV land know what I'm talking about? Because when criminals get taken in and they ask them one question, would you be willing to take a
Lie detector test.
Oh my goodness. I remember a funny story. This police officer, he had some type of a device there, and he could flip a switch and it would turn red. And it wasn't the person they were questioning wasn't taking a lie detector test, but the police officer told him this thing can detect when you're lying. It's a new device. And the guy kept sitting there and he kept looking out of the corner of his eye over there at that red light because he'd ask him a question, he'd answer, red light would come on. It rattled his nerves. And finally he said, the criminal just says, I can't beat this thing here. And all it was just a little box sitting there flipping the switch on and off, and the red light would light up.
Oh
And the
my God.
guy confessed to the crime. It wasn't anything major, burglary and stuff, something like that. But he did it as a joke, had fun. And I wished I could have found that story. I looked for it, but I read
Oh,
that one
that's
time.
funny.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. It really is.
That is funny.
Mhm. And lie
That is
detector test, it was in the early beginning of the 20th century. In 1921, a polygraph instrument was invented by a medical student in University of California named John Larson. The invention result was more intelligent than the previous machine. The previous machine was built to record the individual's psychology response to an accusation, but it's not as advanced as the one that John Larson made. His modern polygraph measured and recorded the respiration rate, blood pressure, and the pulse rate of the subject. The recordings were done on smoke paper back in those days. That's really something, man.
It is, and it's interesting because I've seen a lot of documentaries and a lot of shows about people who take lie detector tests and the people
Mhm.
who can beat them. And
Yeah.
those are people that can control their heart rate, and
Mhm.
they calm themselves down. They have an ability. I don't have it, but some people out there do, where they can control their heart rate and they can keep their heart rate really low, and therefore they can answer a question and it never registers on a lie detector test.
Mhm. Yeah, those people also, they don't have much of a conscience either, because that tells you when the lie detector detects that you're lying, you were never wired, so to speak, from the creator to be a liar.
Right.
You were created to always tell the truth, and that's why that lie detector test works so well. And it's really a kind of a funny thing there. We talk about that. And Donna, you also mentioned back in 1927, Philco Farnsworth. He
Yes.
invented something in 1927 that I thought didn't come out to maybe the 40s or 50s. And what in the world was that? Do you remember?
It was the television.
The television. Yeah. Oh,
Of course,
man.
it was all black and white back in those days.
Oh, yeah. You better
Mhm.
believe it was. And it's really amazing how, we joke about kids today, and our kids, they had it tough. They had to get up and wade through about 8 or 10 foot of carpet just to be able to change the channel, because we didn't have remotes in those days.
Shag carpet that you always got shocked when you turned the channel on the TV or turned it up.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fun, tell somebody, a kid or something like that, yeah, go over and turn up the TV for me. Which one? That knob there. Yeah, go and turn it up. Ouch. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I'd forgotten about that. I'm glad you mentioned that about the shock. That's really it's really something. But yeah, I mean, we had I'm thinking about ourselves. Our first TV that Dad bought, it was in 1953, 54. I was just a small kid then. Uh, it was a Stromberg Carlson. That was the brand. And it had they had these big, huge metal boxes with a tube in front. I
Right?
mean, these things were almost as heavy as a refrigerator. And you know what kind of a stand that thing came on?
What?
Those little bitty, spindly uh, tube legs that are come out and to get bent down two of them, and just four little legs, and it had a swivel set on a swivel where you could turn it left or right. I
Oh
mean, if
wow.
that thing fell, oh my goodness gracious,
You'd
it
kill
was a heavy
somebody.
set. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a heavy set. If that thing fell on a baby, you could just, I don't even
Oh
want to
yeah.
think about what it could do there. Kid
Right.
crawl under it or something and rock it and it tilt over. But
Mm-hmm.
because those things were heavy in those days.
Oh yeah.
And those,
I'm sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, in those days too, everything was analog. It was not digital. And we had
Right.
the vacuum tubes, and those things would get hot.
Really. And you couldn't touch them because they'd blow.
Mm-mm. No, It's like
Yeah.
trying to touch a light bulb.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't, I remember growing up, we had a color TV, but I know when I bought my first TV for myself, for my room, for my paper out money, all I could afford was a little, black and white TV, and I was happier than a clam with that,
Oh, yeah, me
because
too.
I could sit in my room and I could watch TV, and I didn't have to share the TV with anybody. Oh my goodness, the screen was only about this dadgum big.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. Remember the Princess TVs and phones and all that stuff? I mean,
Hmm.
they were very small. But yeah, my first TV that I bought with my money was a black and white. Black and white is really kind of unique because look at photographs.
Hmm.
Color photographs has been around for decades. Some of you kids, I mean, that's all you see is, color photographs with digital and all that. But the black and whites, when you look at the black and white photo, it has character in it. I don't know what it is about it, but it does.
It does. It
Hmm.
absolutely does.
Hmm.
So, okay, let's go to a new invention we haven't talked about.
Okay.
1929 by Sam Foster invented sunglasses.
Oh, yeah, we got to look cool now. We got to
Well,
look cool.
we do, but we do need to protect our eyes. But
Yes.
here's what's really cool: the existence of eyeglasses can be dated back to the 1600s when the Chinese monarchs viewed bright lights with a wooden material pierced in the middle. These
Hmm.
models didn't make it to the 1900s as they were seen as incompetent.
Hmm.
Nowadays, when the summer is more interesting to Americans than ever, it took courage to stare at the sun while in the beach city or the eyes could get damaged. So,
Wow.
as the models of glasses that was built after that time were unappealing to the Americans, as they believed sunglasses could also be made to look like eyeglasses. So in 1929, Sam Foster invented the modern sunglasses after he tested the bright light can be viewed in them without damaging your eyes,
Mm.
including the sun. So to
Mm.
confirm of the authenticity of his sunglasses, it started making waves in the movies when artists and directors started using them against the bright studio lights. In 1930, he started making huge sales as he began producing them in mass. Later that year, sunglasses started making waves as a fashion trend in the USA. It does
Mm.
not say, though, when the patent came on it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Kind of
you're exactly
interesting.
right. Yeah, it really is because, you don't think much about sunglasses. I never thought about when they came out or anything. But I mean, Foster Grants, they were the Ray-Ban, they were the two standards to
Oh,
have.
yeah.
They were the leaders. Now, I mean, you don't even think about which brand. There's just buku of them out there, from
Right.
inexpensive to, a lot of money. And, as long as they work, that's the main thing. You really
Hmm.
do. Because most people put on sunglasses just to be able to protect their eyes from the sun. And let's face it, you want to look cool. Yeah, I mean, you got to look cool, right? Going down the road.
Well, I'm light blind, so I just need them to keep it from making my eyes water so I can see.
Hmm. Well, one of the things that I have with my eyes is that when I get out in the sunlight, it can make me start to sneeze.
Really?
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, because I can sneeze from time to time if I get out in the sunlight and it's real bright for me. And I found out just the other day that the reason why I have blue eyes and why people have blue eyes is that we had a mutation of our genes. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I did. And did
Oh,
you know that
okay.
green eyes are extremely rare?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, you think about it, you very seldom see anyone with green eyes, but
You're looking
it's,
at her.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. But it's really amazing too because I've seen people with very different colored eyes. And if
Hmm.
you ask what color are their eyes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're brown. They're kind of like gold. They got some
A little
aqua in them.
hazel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah, I always tell people mine is bloodshot red, blue.
That's funny. That's
Mhm.
funny. Yeah, interesting. But we do need to protect the eyes. So thank you, Mr. Foster. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. And during the 20's, there was a lot of young people who resisted the establishment, just like it was in the 60's. They wanted to live, they wanted to thrive, they wanted to, get out of this survival mode. And a lot of them, several of the authors there, they wrote books. They were normally classified as the lost generation because they were the
Right.
misfits. And these
Right.
misfits were like Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Gertrude Stein. They were three that's mentioned here. And the term usually refers to American literary nobles who lived in Paris at the time, the lost generation. But they were very bright young people. They just, they were just, I guess they were fed up based on their life and what they've seen in life, the disadvantages and all that. And a lot of people in the 60's were like that. They were tired of the politicians. They were tired of all the yakety sacks and all that.
Hmm.
And today, there's a lot of unrest with young people around the world. They don't want to put up with the drama. They don't want to put up the yakety sacks. They don't want to put up with all this doom and gloom and death that we see, that's going on between right now, the Russia attacking, Ukraine and all that. They're tired of that. That's not living, and it's a dead end street to them. And I just heard a little kitty in there agree with me.
Uh, wasn't in here. I shut the door today.
Did you? Well, it's not
Oh,
my kitty. With that
oh my
clatter of
gosh.
cats, yeah.
Yes, they're outside the door meowing. I thought, oh my gosh, are they in here? They're outside the door meowing.
When she's got a clatter of cats meowing, I said that's in stereo.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. Oh my
it's
goodness.
it's really amazing how we learned that new word earlier this week. Clouder, or was it last week? I forget.
I think it was last week, the
Yeah, it
latter part of
was.
last week.
Yeah, Clowder, Clowder. We do daily puzzles in the morning. While we're drinking our coffee, me and Elf, and it says menagerie of cats or something like that. And I'm going like, starts with a C. I mean, I had no idea
Right.
Clowder, Clowder, was what it was talking about. Three or more cats, you got a Clowder house of cats. You know, it's just, and Donna's got four, so she's definitely qualified. She's,
Oh yeah. I've had
yeah.
more than that at once.
Another invention that came out in 1927 surprised me. I
Yeah,
thought it came.
that
I
one
thought
blew me away.
I thought it came out much later than that. To be honest with you, ladies and
I did
gentlemen,
too.
it was invented by Frank Wildest. I guess it is Wildest, Wildest, the second. 1927, he invented the pressure washer. That
Right?
kind of got me. That kind of got me. Because we think of pressure washers as being something that came on in maybe the 60's or 70's, and it's an easy way for people to clean off their driveways and stuff. But that was invented in 1927, and it was used for washing sticky and stubborn dirt, off of roofs and tall buildings and
Right.
external. We normally think of pressure washers being around our house to wash off the concrete and stuff. But you had a lot of uses back then. And the pressure washer, it is essential to learn its history because Frank,
Oh,
is that Waldert? Can you see that Waldert the second? He was
it
working at a company.
Wildest. Frank
No, down
Wildest.
There's also a Frank, it might be a misprint here, Woldert the second. I think it's
Oh, it
Wallace.
says Woldert the
Yeah,
second.
I think it was a misprint, Don. I
I do
really
too.
do. He was working in a company that produced gas-fired boilers and whiskey picks. And when he accidentally invented the
Right?
pressure washer, he was working on a whiskey still when he observed the steam coming out of a small hose with force could wash off the grease from the garage floor. Henceforth, he took it and he delivered a way to formalize his discovery and to create cleaning equipment. His idea was to mix the wet steam with chemicals that clean dirt easily. He successfully came up with an invention that helped many firms and houses. And since his prototype has been developed through the years to improve its usage, but he accidentally backed into it. That's one of the things that I love about inventions. Many
Right.
times people back into it. They really do.
Right. Just by fluke.
Yep.
Just by fluke. Now, this next one was also one that just absolutely stunned me. 1927, John Hamas invented the garbage disposal.
Yeah.
I did not know it was that old. Right?
Neither did I. Here again, I
Right?
thought that was a 50s, maybe 60s thing. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. So he is an architect from Wisconsin who wanted to figure out a way for his wife so her chores would be easier in the kitchen. He started his idea as far back as 1916, but often failed in all attempts to come up with something helpful for his wife. When he designed the first prototype, he rented a workshop to develop it, and as he continued with different designs, he came up with the best at the time in 1927. He later founded a company after receiving a patent for his invention. His company is still existing to date. And when first set of garbage disposals were called electric pigs. Okay. They're efficient enough to crush the food waste and wash them off, obviously, without anything, sticking in the sink, and it just goes right down. But again, this is really cool because now we've learned of two men who were trying to invent something to be helpful for their wives.
Absolutely. And see, their focus was on how they could be a blessing to their wives, but look how that's been a blessing for a multitude of people.
Right.
And that really is an amazing thing. And I know on tomorrow's show, I know we're getting a little close here on time.
We are.
But on tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about something. Of course, we're going to cover a few more inventions, of course, but we want to get into the role of women,
Yes.
the changing role of women in the 1920s, because women just started, and that's the way life is. I mean, things change and men change, women change, and a lot of changes went on in the 20s with ladies. It really was. The women's suffrage movement started in 1917 and we got full force in 1921. The changing roles of women, and it's very, very interesting because most British historians depict the 1920s as an era of domestic for women with little feminine progress apart from full suffrage, which came in 1928. On the contrary, argues Alison Light, their literary sources reveal that many British women enjoyed, a different lifestyle than what he was trying to depict.
Right.
And because as a rule, men try to, and I'm speaking of men try to keep the standard the same because we've always done it this way.
Right.
And ladies have ability to look at us and look at, what are you thinking? And it goes back a long ways because as I tell the story sometimes when I'm speaking, when God looked down there and saw Adam in the garden, he didn't say he needed a wife. He didn't say he needed a girlfriend or a honey bunny or anything like that. He looked at him And Donna, I'm convinced the good Lord rolled his eyes and says, he needs some help. He needs a helper because he's a guy. Think about that. He doesn't have to worry about bills or working or anything like that. What's a guy going to do? He's going to be goofing off. We don't know what he was doing, but I'll guarantee you, it wouldn't surprise me if him and the chimpanzees were not over there throwing tangerines at one another, Because the Lord just says, he needs some help. And gave him a helper. Yeah, but it's true. He didn't say he needed a wife or a companion or someone to, he says he needs help. He needs a helper. And this guy, because that 50-50-90 rule applies to all men. I've covered it before. If a guy has a 50-50 shot of doing something right the first time, if he doesn't listen to the wise advice of the lady in his life, there's a 90% chance he's going to goof it up right out of the gate. So guys, let's own that. Let's own that. I mean, we've earned our reputation and we own it that we don't ask for directions. Real men don't ask. We enjoy getting lost, Gives us something to do, Where are we? I don't know,
I'm going to find it in a minute, though.
Yeah, which
an
way is the
hour
wind
later.
blowing? Okay. Yeah, the wind was blowing the other way a while ago,
Right.
True story. True story. When I was with the Arizona Guard. Now, a compass will pick up and it points to magnetic north. There's 3 norths. Right. There's magnetic north. There's North Pole, which is true north. And the third is what's called grid north. If you're looking at a map like a county, the top center of that county, and that is grid north, okay? So we're trying to find where the helicopter is going to come in at. And we had a male lieutenant, very, very smart. He's one of these people that was very educated in books, but, just didn't know anything about common sense.
Common sense, right.
Yes. And he's got this aluminum, it's not a clipboard, it's aluminum, like a nifty notebook, but it's made out of aluminum. They were very popular in the military. He lifted up because it would cover the paperwork and all that. And he had that, and he had the compass on top of that aluminum clipboard. I am not making this up. And we tried to tell him, hey, we're going the wrong direction. He says, wait a minute. He's looking at this thing. He's holding a clipboard, metal clipboard now. This is a magnetic compass, sitting it on there. I wish I was making this up, but this is true story, ladies and gentlemen. I was an eyewitness there. And he says, wait a minute, guys. North was over there a while ago.
Oh, heavens. Oh, that's funny.
And we just decided, hey, let's just leave him alone. And actually, he was a captain. He wasn't a lieutenant. He was a captain. But anyway, we just decided, hey, we know where the helicopter is. Let's just head over there. If he wants to stay here by himself, let him enjoy himself.
That's funny.
Because that's a situation of blind leading the blind. But all of us going to wind up in the ditch. We're going to have to walk home. Right. You want to walk home, or you want to have a helicopter take you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
Chopper.
That's just a case of common sense wasn't growing in his garden that week.
No, it sure wasn't. But he's a very brilliant guy,
right,
in other areas of his life. I mean, just real smart, with technology and things of this nature. But when it came to grassroots reality, common sense, his clutch was slipping. He couldn't get it in gear.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. That's funny. Well, Jim, our time is just about up.
Yes, ma'am.
That we will be back tomorrow. And, on behalf of Jim and myself, again, we want to thank each and every one of you who tune in and watch us and know that we are grateful for you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so very much, folks, because Donna and I, we take this, we take that very, very seriously, because without you, there's no reason for us to be here.
Right.
The messages that we deliver is what you tune in to hear. We just happen to be the messengers, and with our way of expressing ourselves and our personalities, hope you like it. Hope you don't want to throw tangerines at me or anything. I know you won't do it at Don, but me, but our point being, we are so honored to be here on E360 TV. And we were honored when the president of E360 TV told Donna and me, he says, you guys get a lot of views, and that makes me happy. And It's to say thank you just seems so inadequate to me from the way
It
we
does.
feel deep down in the heart. We joke around a lot, and I've got a warped sense of humor. Some people think it's a lack of sense, but they're entitled to their opinion. But you didn't catch that, Donna? That was a joke.
I
I
did.
thought it was.
I
but
did.
but but most importantly, we take the viewership in the audience very, very seriously. That's why we
Yes, we
always
do.
try to provide value to you. So be sure and tune in tomorrow. And I got a free gift for you guys tomorrow.
Ooh,
Sure do.
nice.
You know what it
Nice.
is?
What's that?
I'm not going to tell you. You got to tune in tomorrow. I'm going to keep you in suspense. How about that?
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
But folks, wherever you are, day or night, please have a blessed
Yes.
day, a blessed evening, and take care of yourselves. Give yourself grace every step
Yeah.
you go.
You bet. We'll see you tomorrow. Be sure and love yourself, forgive yourself, and most importantly, enjoy your life and enjoy being you because you're that special. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
folks.